No, they're all right, the lads in here, they need well, as soon as you hear them chatting amongst themselves. I know about it. Right, so here we are underground now, and there's our first batch of coal seam. That's what early coal cutter, that's an Siscoe coal cutter made in Sheffield around about 1906. It's not very impressive looking, I must admit, but at the time it was a fairly efficient piece of machinery. It was actually driven by compressed air, and obviously that was piped all the way from the surface on the steam boilers. So obviously everything at that time, you probably realise, was driven by steam. Right? Now with this being driven by compressed air, it was very, very noisy and very, very dusty, as you can probably imagine. Right? The miners themselves had two names for it. One was a windy pick, which is basically what it was, and the other one was the widow maker. And that was because the noise and the dust that actually created and was actually working. Now today, if you're operating a similar machine to that, you'd have to wear proper air defenders, proper respirator, a proper dust mask of some shape or form, because you have to by law now. Then that sort of thing just didn't exist. Because I think the miners themselves didn't appreciate how bad the conditions were that were actually working in at the time. You know, you might get the odd one, put a bit of cloth, you see, has to try to deaden the noise, or a little bit of cloth across his face like a bandana to try to reduce the dust. Some of them used to chew tobacco, or baccy as they called it, and that was to like create a juice or a saliva in the mouth that would probably stop inhaling the dust. But the reality was, as you can imagine, it didn't work very well. Because what you ended up with miners at that period of time, by the time they started getting into their mid-40s, were getting to the point where they couldn't work underground anymore because their lungs was chock-a-block with the coal and stone dust that they actually breathed in. And obviously a lot of them were starting to get deaf now in the noisy conditions. Pneumoconiosis, that's the problem that used to suit. They would come to work away, and they couldn't breathe at all. They would come to the doctor and say, oh yeah, walked in the pit, you've got pneumoconiosis. Well, a very fancy word for say work, horrible work conditions, and breathed all that rubbish in the lungs. That's the way it actually wasn't that. Pneumoconiosis. The thing is, lots of heavy industry workers at that time suffered from similar things. The men that worked in the shipyards tend to suffer asbestosis because they use a lot of asbestos when they were building ships, silicosis in the mills for the dust in there. But it's the same sort of thing with a slightly different name, and that's what they all suffer from. Mines would leave school at 12, come underground at 14, so by the time they got in their 40s, working in an environment like this, you can imagine how it affected their life and their health. So we'll move on from this little bit. Now we'll move